All right, welcome to a lovely sunny Bolton day. Do you know what one of my biggest bugbears is with comments on YouTube? When people say to me, your lawns are great, but there's no life in there, it's too sterile. That's a load of rubbish. When you look from space to planet Earth, what do you see? You see green and blue. Blue for water and green for plant life. So there's plenty of life going on in this lawn. If you have a look closely, there's like 1 billion blades of grass on here, all living and breathing, so that's absolute rubbish. But what I do agree with is that the lawn could have a bit more life around it. So what we're going to do is today, we're going to take a trip down my memory lane, back to my first lawn where I used to live as a child, and we used to have a border with white allium running around it, and that is my first memory of a garden. So I'm going to recreate that here. Steve doesn't know it yet, but he's going to be funding it. He does now because he's just watched this video. So cheers, Steve. Let's crack on. What we're going to do first is we're going to do lawn renovation halfway, and then we're going to cut the channel out, and then we're going to finish the lawn renovation. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to scalp the lawn as normal, and then we'll take it from there. All right, so before we start scalping the lawn, let me tell you a bit more of the reason why we're digging out this trench. Yeah, we do want to make it nicer, but there is another reason as to why, and you can see right there. This first 6 inches of this lawn now is just covered in annual meadow grass. I think it just runs down the tarmac and then ends up landing in the lawn. So, and you strim and stuff, and then you spread it that way as well. So it's just all the way down there. So we're going to dig that out for that reason and then put the plants in. So it's like the reason is why we're putting the plants in is because of the annual meadow grass, really. So we're kind of solving a problem going forward, in that it's easier to weed annual meadow grass out of soil than it is grass, and it looks nicer as well. So what I'm going to do is we'll get on with the hay to cut it on one. We've got to skip over there, so we don't need to worry about how much we take off today. That's normally a worry of mine because I've only got green bins to put things in, so sometimes I can't go as short as I'd like. So today that's not an issue. So we'll get it on one with a hater, and then we'll scalp it with the sterling, and then we'll cut the trench out after we've scarified. So we'll get it scarified as well, and then once we've scarified, we can chop this border out, and that's because if I cut the border out first, I'm not going to be able to scarify right to the edge of the lawn. But if I do this scarifying first, I can scarify and overlap where we're going to actually be taking the cut from, and then once we've removed the trench, all the lawn will have been scarified. So that's the reason we're doing that. So let's get on with it. All right, so that's the hay to it done. Now, I had to go left as well, left and right, because it was struggling to get through as we got to the middle bit over there. So I've done it both ways. And what also this does is that it gets the lawn used to being mowed in multiple angles, because sometimes when I mow just one way, which I do here predominantly because the lawn is long and it's hard work turning left to right because of the fence, we can get like a bit of ribbing just on this left side. So if we go that way as well, it just chops through that. So that's another reason why I've cut both ways. So now it's time to get on with the sterling, which I have all ready to go here. So I'm just going to knock it down to 10 mil, and then we'll see what that does in terms of shortness, and then we'll have a recap after. All right, look at those stripes. Is it time for a Britney moment? I don't think so. Right, so look how much we've taken off. That's how much has come off. So let's just have a closer look. 15 mil was, 10 mil was just too short. So I raised it to 15 to get rid of most of it, and then I went over at 10 left to right, and then went over 10 up and down, and that was fine. But a few smudge patches. This is completely normal. There's still plenty of grass in there, no problem, but we'll just prick that with the seed slotter and then just open up that swash area a little bit just to let the seed in so water doesn't just run over the top. What else? Yeah, we're now ready to scarify. Let's get on with that. Okay, so there we are. There is Ye Old Faithful, looking bruised and battered, but still working. So I'll just leave that on what the height we've been going on everywhere else, which is on 2 there. The first nodule you see is neutral, but as the blades have worn down, I have to go deeper and deeper. So number 2 on there isn't reflective of what it actually is. And also the wheels have worn down as well, so that takes it deeper into the ground. So I just use my own guide on that now. That's kind of just what I call it rather than what the manufacturer's specifications are. Okay, so that's the scarifying done. What we'll do now is to go and pick all this up. I'll just whip over with the sterling with the Alex scarifying attachment inside, and this will do a great job of picking this up. Hopefully if we need to do 2 passes we will, but I think 1 should be enough, as it's really paid dividends this year in terms of picking up. So I can't see it letting down today, other than that the grass that I brought up is a bit damp, so that could go against us, but only one way to find out, and that's to try it. Alright, so that worked a treat. The lower you go, the harder it is going to have to work, and it might just get a little bit stuck. So just if you find that resistance is too much and it stops you actually moving forward when you press the button to go forward, just raise the tines up a little bit until you're happy. And it picks, as well as picking up, you don't want to raise them too high so it's not actually doing a job, which I found when I first started. I wasn't low enough so I could go, but I wasn't picking anything up, I was just squashing it back down. So what we'll do now is I'm going to show you how we're going to dig this trench out as straight as a die. Okay, so I'm just about to start putting this string line in. You're going to need a few tools, a half moon, some string, a couple of pegs. I'm just using a screwdriver at this end, and I'll just use a fork at the other, one of my trusty little forks, and a tape measure. This is just so we can measure the distance all the way up so we get a straight line. So what I'm going to do is I just want to bring this down here like that and come into a triangle, and then when we mow the lawn we don't have to curve around this edge because that gets a lot of wear, because it's always damp down there because all the water tends to run into that corner. We're turning all the time, we get a bit of wear there. So I've set this up, I want to do about 8 inches, so I'm just going to put it here, and then that gets us all the way up there, no problem. So I'll put my screwdriver where I think 8 is. I'll just follow this line, stick it somewhere over there. Perfect. And then we'll measure it later on. So just tie that round. And then we'll go up the top. Alright, so we're at this top end now. Also, because we're digging this trench out, it's going to really solve this problem here. Because of this, I can't always mow right up to the edge. So we've got a bit of weed growing, etc. So that's great as well. So just bring this over and we'll measure 8 inches. Don't worry if it's not 8 inches at the middle yet, because it's not, because we're coming up the big hill. So we'll have to take that into account, but we can put some little staples in to get it 8 inches all the way. We'll use some of the ground staples. So just give that a quick measure again, so you get to 8 inches. Bit tricky, could do with another set of hands. So that's 8 inches. Got my little Stanley knife. It's a Magnuson knife. It's like a Hoover, a Stanley knife, isn't it? Everybody says Hoover, but yet that's the brand name, not the actual tool itself. Same with Stanley knife. Right, so that's on there. We'll just move that over. That's at 8 inches now, perfect. So we're top and bottom were right. We just need to get it to 8 inches all the way down the middle. Okay, so we can no doubt see that that is a lot bigger than 12 inches. It's actually getting on for 12, just shy. So what I'll do is move it over to 8, and then we can just use that tightness and just let it ping down to 8 inches. Just make sure that's touching. So that's at 8, and then what you can do is you can just go up and down with a tape measure at various points, and if it's slightly out you can just pull it in. So let's have a look. So that's at 8, that's at 8, that's at 8. Go a bit further down. That's not quite at 8, so we'll just bring that in. That's at 8 now. That's at 8. So that's great. That's 8 inches all the way down, and more importantly, we've left enough overlap so we know there's no annual meadowgrass in this part of the lawn. So what we'll do now is we'll get our half moon and we'll start cutting it out, and I'll show you how to do that next. Right, so the next part is cutting this out. Now you could just stand on the lawn and use the string line as the edge, but I just like to use a bit of a board. Pick this up from B&Q, it's about 12 quid and can be reused for other things, but it just gives you something to stand on, and it gives you a crisper edge to cut to, so you know you've got a straighter line. So you can just line it up with your string line and then cut against it. No problem. And also you could put the offcuts on this, and then any soil just ends up getting on the board rather than on the grass. So we just go like that. Cutting through nice and easy because it's sand based underneath. We know there's no resistance of rocks or anything, so we're going to get a really neat line. So it's just moved a little bit, just adjust as necessary. So we know we can't take out one big roll like that, so just cut it into little segments. Makes it easier to transport. And remember, we've got to use some of these on the other side, so I'm not going to chuck them all. And up here, this looks like it's annual meadowgrass free, so what I'll do is I'll leave those for myself. Maybe take a bit more. And then we'll put these on the other side, ready for Scarify, etc. when we do that side. So I'll just carry on moving that down. And we continue all the way to the bottom. Okay, so we're now ready to lift these pieces out. So we'll just get our half moon under there, and because we've cut that little line all the way across, it should just lift out nice and easy into the flexi tub, and then we'll put that in the skip. If you want, you can use a spade for this, but it just saves only getting the half moon out. And then we'll refill this with some topsoil, because this soil that's already in is dead sandy from last time, so it's not great for growing stuff in. So we'll just refill this. I've got some Westland topsoil to go in there. Lee Mason's dad grabbed me last week when I went round, and he said, what do you think of this? And he showed me this Westland stuff from Morrison's, 4 for 12 quid he said, and it looked really good, so we're going to give that a go. It was really consistent, sandy, soily, weed content, who knows, but you never know until you try these things. But for 3 quid a bag, you can't go wrong. So we'll get some of that, top up this, and then we'll put our bedding in that. So I'll just crack on with the rest of this, and I'll see you when I'm done. Remember, I'm leaving this in for my joints that I've got to put in around there. All right, so that's the lawn edge done, lovely and straight. So what we're going to do now is going to carry on with the lawn renovations. What I want to do is, before we do any seeding or top dressing, I'm just going to go over again with the verticutting attachment in. I've got the grooming one in, and this is just going to reopen them holes for some seed to fall into. It's too big an area to do with the seed slotting tool, but also what I want to do is, before we do any lawn work as well, any seeding or top dressing, I'm just going to spray weed killer Roundup all the way along this edge up here, so we can get rid of those before we plant any bedding plants, because they're just going to perish if you start putting Roundup on afterwards, because it's like atomizes and it just gets everywhere. Even a mist will start killing things off. So best doing it while we've got the soil down, and then in 24 hours before we do the bedding plant work, it'll have been broken down by the soil bacteria. That's how Roundup works. Okay, so I've just been repairing some holes on the other side with that turf from up there, so we can crack on now. So off camera, I just got my seed slotter out and I've just by hand treated those areas. So what I can do now is I can get my spreader out, rest of the seed, and we'll get it on. Top dress, water, then home. And then come back tomorrow, bring the topsoil, bedding plants, and get those in as well. Give that Roundup chance to break down if any got in the soil. So yeah, looking good. Alright, so that's the seeding done. I just opened the spreader on number 32, filled my hopper with seed and went on, and that's enough for this 120 square metres. Now it's time to go on with our H2Go wetting agent. This is going to help the seed break down so the water can get through, germinate quicker. It's going to relieve any dry patch on the lawn, and then we're going to put it on top of the top dressing as well, and this helps the water get through that as well. So what we've done is we've mixed all we need in here, which is 240 mils. Okay, so it's time to get on with our field compost number 4. We're back on number 4 at this job because we're just using it to cover the seed, not to raise the level at all or fill out any undulations or anything like that. So still time to get yours. Remember, there's a 10% off code at fieldcompost.co.uk, just using my code DHLE10. Now, when's the perfect time to do this? Who knows, but I like to do it in the order which I do it, because I'm guaranteed to water. I know the seed will germinate at low temperatures and come through, and then I don't have to worry about watering so much because the rain's going to do that for me. But if it's temperatures you're after, then perfect time to do it now, but you're probably going to have to do the watering. So it's whatever you want to do. If you want to do the watering, do it now, but if you want to not do the watering, get it done early and let nature do it for you. I want to water here just because I can control where I get it and where I want it, and because there's some areas that don't need it, like up here at the moment. This is quite damp, so we don't want to have this too wet, whereas down there gets really dry, so we might need more there. So that's why I like to be in control. But saying that, we have done this early and the rain has done it for us, but you run the risk of sometimes getting a heavy shower and it washing it down the hill. So I think there's a bit of a dry spell coming now, so that's good for this lawn. So what have we been up to? Well, we went to Barnsley on Friday night. We won 3-1, so it was a great result. And then last night Oxford beat Peterborough, which is great because we really want Oxford at Wembley if we get there. Of course, we're only 3-1 up, still got the second leg to come, but it's looking really good for us. So yeah, Oxford won last night, and I don't think that's enough. I think Peterborough will overturn that quite handsomely, I think, because we drew their 3-3. I think they are a better team than Oxford, so I think Oxford probably would have liked to have got more goals. So we'll find out on Tuesday and Wednesday. Probably next time I do a video we'll know if we're on our way to Wembley. So it was a great atmosphere, a bit nerve-wracking. We went 2-0 up and then we give a silly goal away, but then we made it 3-1 in injury time, so that was great. Nice drive home as well, nice drive there. So you can't ask for any more. Now, just something totally unrelated. Did anybody watch the Beech Grove Garden last Sunday? There was this guy on, and he was filling in a hollow in a lawn. It was just embarrassing. It was ridiculous. He just had a little hole in his lawn, like just a bit of a dip, and he just tipped a bag of compost on it, put a spirit level on it, and then just sprinkled some seed on it and just put his foot on it and went, yeah, that's what you do. Absolutely, I was just laughing. I was cringing, not only for him, but for the whole of the audience who watched it, because that's not really, but you don't use compost, as I've said, to raise the levels because it's just going to degrade. So that's why you need, in this, if you was doing that, you would take the tiff off from underneath and then fill it with field compost number 5 and then put the turf back on. That's how I like to do it. But if you did want to just put soil on, always remove the underneath turf, because that's going to die off and that's going to start bringing gases up, which are going to get trapped, and your new grass isn't going to do much, and you're going to have a nice patch of brand new seed in your lawn, which will stand out like a sore thumb. Whereas if you take out that old turf, fill it up from underneath, put that old turf back, it blends in seamlessly. So that's the way to do it. So yeah, I apologise for people who watch that. So anyway, I'll crack on with this. Just gonna probably screed it out with the back of my rake as well. Now don't worry about disturbing the seeds underneath, because they're trapped now. There's no way. They're in the grooves. And they might move a little bit, but I've been doing this now for like 10 years or something, like intensely like this. Not at this job, but all over. And the lawns, as you've seen in the last 3 years, have all been brilliant. So it doesn't matter. Just get it done, and you will have success. Right, I've got 40 bags to do, or 20 on this side, but we'll do that the other day. We'll do that tomorrow, the other side. I'm not going to get it all done today. Just get this bit done, because it's Sunday and it's hot. So I want to go and set it in the garden rather than working in them. See you in a bit.